the Because Fiction podcast, where we chat about all things Christian fiction. I'm your host, author, and insatiable reader, Shatona Havoc. And guys, we have with us a new to me author. I am so excited about this book. I was reading the synopsis and I was like, I'm so glad it's not here because I would be like spoiling all over the place. So, welcome, Stephanie Mack, author of 20 Something Else. Love that title. And yeah, let's talk books.
I am so thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, this is great. Okay. So 20 Something Else. I've got to know, where in the process did the title come?
Oh, you know what? This title came to me early and fast and undeniably. And I loved it from the beginning. I don't know. It just came as I was thinking about Sutton's story. You know, she's hopping back to relive her 20s in her 40-year-old mind and spirit, but her body's in her 20s. And I was like, 20 something. And then something else, it just clicked. And I got so attached to it that when it came time with Tyndale, much farther down the line to talk about it, they were like, we're keeping the title. We love it, but we don't always do that. I want you to know the titles change often and we're keeping it. So it was just kind of organic from the beginning on this one. Also not always the case for me, but yes, very natural.
Most of my titles tend to be what I end up with, but I have to have a title or I can't write the first sentence. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I so get that. I need one too. Even if, you know, even if
I know it might change, it needs, but it has to be a real one. I can't just, title it the next great book. That doesn't work.
Totally.
It has to be real. I love that someone finally gets me.
Yes,
most people are like, yeah, I don't care.
I got you 100%. It's important.
Oh my goodness. I love it. Okay. So I got all the questions, but I think before I ask all the questions, I'm going to ask, okay, what are we going to see in the story? I mean, you gave us a little bit, let's get the gist of this story and all the things. And then I'll bug you with all
Absolutely. The gist of this story is that Sutton, my character, is a suburban mother and wife. She has been married since her early 20s. She has 3 children and it's her 40th birthday. She is looking at that milestone and she is starting to feel a lot of feelings and she is starting to wonder quietly, wow, I settled down really young. Did I miss my great adventure? Did I miss out? Gosh, what would my 20s have looked like if I had done things differently? And she attends this pickleball tournament thrown for her by her friends and she gets knocked out cold in a freak accident and she wakes up in this portal, sort of It's a Wonderful Lifestyle with a guardian angel sort of figure, and is granted the chance to relive her 20s. But this time she's single. Her husband does not exist to her in this world. So she lives her 20s. Catch is that she can live them out of order and on her own terms. So she can pick an age based on a clue given to her and hop into that world and experience it. And so see what Sutton might be up to at, say, that age with the Statue of Liberty as a clue or that age with a snowflake as a clue. And so she goes on this journey to experience another life, making entirely different choices.
I love it. Okay. So when you look at this, the synopsis and the bits about the story and everything, I mean, it talks about a little bit of magical realism, which I love.
Yay, me too.
It just makes me so happy. But here's the deal. And I have this like instinct that you have hit this balance right just from the way you've described it and from the synopsis.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that magical realism tends to be in 2 camps.
Yes.
And neither camp is, and notice there's a sweet spot in the middle. I'm not talking about that one. Either camp tends to be either dissatisfying in some way. Either it's just barely, and you're just like, is this even magical? Is it? I can't tell.
Totally.
But yeah, kind of a little bit. Or it's just like way all the way into fantasy. And why are we calling this magical realism?
Totally.
And it feels like you got the sweet spot. So I gotta know, how did you pull that off?
Oh gosh, I appreciate that so much because it's something that I didn't know if I could pull off. You know, I mentioned It's a Wonderful Life, and that's my favorite movie of all time. And what I love about that is that it's easy to follow. There is sort of a vehicle being the angel who like shows him things, you know, sort of, you know, Christmas Carol, like that's easy to follow if you have this sort of guide. So I had the thought of like a sort of guide, and I also just, I had to try it. I was like, I love
Right?
this, but can I pull it off? And this book, I am always an outliner. And this one, more than any other book, I've written 4 novels now. My outline was very important to me because she keeps coming back to what I'll call the portal, which is going back to home base of like, what world am I going to pop into next? I found, this is like nerdy writing process information, but by having a place for her to go back to sort of recenter her before she keeps popping into the worlds, it sort of made it feel both real and magical at once. Like I can track with that. Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not confusing, and it's clear that each different world serves a purpose. And another thing that I just have heard from different sources who have written magical realism or just out there in the literary world is when you write magical realism, you can like really do whatever you want, but you have to obey the rules that you create, if that makes sense. So you can't just like be
Yeah.
going crazy. Like and they can be simple. More complicated for me as a reader is hard to follow. So I'm like, here's the rules of Sutton's world, and then let's stick to them. So
Yeah.
for me, it was a matter of my outline, the angel in the portal as a vehicle, and then just following my heart in terms of her as a character. I'm like, if I am feeling her feels and following her as a character, I hope no matter the storyline that will always resonate. So yeah, it was fun though. And I'm relieved that like the reviews so far and the feedback is that it did work. Cause I'm like, I don't know. I wrote a crazy magical pickleball book. Like, let's hope it works.
Right?
And like, I'm so happy it's landing so far, like, cause I really swung for the fences with this one.
I love that crazy magical pickleball book. You just made my day.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because it's true. And yeah, I've also heard it said about magical realism and why I love it so much as someone who is just, I want to be careful, like theologically, of course, but I feel like by experimenting with like the unseen and going there with magical realism, it let me access like human feelings and truths that sometimes just the straight up like rules of the world are too boring to allow. So
Right.
I like that magical realism lets us imagine and lets us play a little bit, like we're spiritual beings, and like let's just like consider for a moment, let's suspend reality in this book and explore human truths through a little fantasy.
I love it. Well, and especially you really kind of nailed a lot of things. So it has been within the last month that there was a discussion trying to remember where it was. I feel like it was Facebook, but I can't understand why this would be on. So it might be my message board. I'm not sure. But there was a discussion about regrets. No, it was on Facebook. It was in the Mosaic group.
Yeah.
And it's like life regrets and would you do things differently? And everybody had different, ideas. And I think personalities play into that.
For sure.
And sometimes I think even life experiences do in on both sides of the issue. I had one woman who was talking about, it's like, I don't have regrets because I made the best decisions for myself at the time with the information I have. And I can't go back and say that, all the prayers that I prayed and that God gave me, total confidence in stepping forward, that he was wrong, so I don't have regrets. And I totally see that. I tend to lean that way myself.
Yeah.
But then, a dear friend of mine, she's like, if I could do it over, I would do these things. I see in hindsight how these things would have made an important impact on my life, the life of my children, and all these things. But they were things I didn't know at the time. But if I could do it over, yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
And it's like this book feels like you heard this conversation. You wrote this like 2 years before this, or 3 or whatever. But it feels like you heard this conversation and you said, "Here, this is it," because like. It's a Wonderful Life is that's what that whole movie is about. What if I, in hindsight, all the things, and what if I, changed all of me to fit this? Well, wait a minute, and obviously he's like, what if I just didn't exist and then this wouldn't be a problem? But no.
yeah, totally. Yeah, that totally resonates, and I think it's interesting because that's the beauty of fiction. Like it'll hit people differently, just like these themes hit people differently. And there are some moms that I know who are like, Yeah, even if like having young kids feels difficult, like I never imagine a day like without them like on a beach with a pina colada, virgin pina colada. Like I don't ever wonder what my life would
Right.
be differently. And then other moms are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm really struggling. Like what if, what if, what if?" So I do feel like finding that balance there between those two. Like
Yeah.
not regretting like leaving your family, like abandoning them. Of course not. But
Of
also
course
like
not.
it's okay to sort of have this like push pull of wonder about any number of our decisions, right? And I think what
Right.
I love about George Bailey as a character in that book, as he does revisit a world without him, what fascinates me about that story and what I brought into 20 something else is the decisions or the small moves of one person impacting one other person and therefore the world. Like it's wild.
Right.
And so as Sutton goes back, you'll see like these different interactions that she has with people, and even like profound conversations change sort of the course of things. And you find out too, like, can she change things or not? Like, that was something fun to play with. And that was kind of, I just made my own rules and abided by them. But yeah, I love that. And I think as women, whether or not we feel regrets, I think we should have room and grace for each other. Like, neither one is wrong
Right.
or right,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
So I love that.
It was just such a cool
That's
conversation,
very
and it
cool.
was neat to see how everybody approached it differently.
Totally.
I mean, even people who agreed, like this one gal I was talking about, that I was like, I can see that. Even with that, there are a few decisions that in hindsight I would make. They're minor,
Yeah.
but I mean, like there are certain people I would not have let my kids spend as much time with.
Yeah. That's a good one.
These are not bad people. These
Totally.
are not these are godly Christian people who love the Lord with everything.
Yeah.
And I still would not have allowed my kids to spend as much time with them, and it would have been the right decision.
Yeah.
At the time, if I had actually stopped to think,
Yeah.
I would have made the decision not to allow that. But I was in the middle of, so it's not one of those decisions that I prayed about and made the right decision and I have
Mhm.
to stick with my choices. That was actually I didn't pray about it and
Yeah.
think about it. And so if I had, I would have made a different
Yeah.
decision. But it's minor. It's not like it totally ruined
Mhm.
my
Totally.
kids' lives. No, but I think they would have had a better experience without that.
Totally.
And do I regret it? Well, define
I know,
regret,
right? And I love
you
too
know?
that like as believers, we do have the grace to meet us. And I love your honesty too about like that wasn't a decision I really thought hard about or prayed about. Like that takes a lot of courage, and myself too with looking back. Like, man, like I could have done that more thoughtfully. And yet things still did turn out okay. So yeah,
Right.
it's interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hear you.
It's really fascinating.
Mhm.
Oh boy. So what was the hardest part about writing something so fun?
Yeah, I know that's a really good question. I think what was the hardest part? I wanted to just make sure that Sutton felt as relatable as possible to as many women as possible. And that's hard because we all have different lives, we live in different places, but I wanted people to just feel that sort of milestone or moment in your life where like, man, you might have a lot of real good stuff going on paper or from the outside, but like what's bothering you at night? Like what unrest are you
Right.
feeling? I wanted moms and just women who've been married for a long time or a little time just to sort of feel her. So making her just someone you want to take the ride with and love was, I guess, hard from A to Z. Just wanted to be consistent with her story. And then the other part is I really, oh gosh, you know what? It's really hard to talk without spoilers.
I
I,
know,
you
right?
know,
Do
it
you see
is.
why I don't read
I
them anymore?
100%, because what I was just going to say is a big fat spoiler. But what I will say is I wanted readers to root for the ending I gave you. And that's hard to do when you're also throwing curveballs along the way, man. You know, it's
Yeah.
like you want that
Yeah.
tension and those stakes, and you want her to be like going on this wild ride, but like, how is this going to end? I wanted that ending to be hard won, but also by the end, I want you crying, feeling it, and cheering. So I think it was with this particular book and the ride that I took her on, it was a writerly challenge to make sure that you were cheering for the ending I provided.
Yeah, and that is I think that is it's kind of funny because I feel like, okay, work with me here,
Yeah, of
but I
course.
feel like this book is kind of, it's kind of women's
Uh-huh.
fiction love triangle
Yeah.
with a married couple.
Yeah, no, totally. Totally. And I
It's a love triangle of a life
yes,
rather
it
than,
is.
but
I know,
still.
I know. And it's like, it's weird being an author when you really feel like you have the characters like destiny in your hands and like you could choose, like I can give her either path. So there, I also had to follow my own heart and, the ending I wanted to give her. And oh, I'm so happy with how it turned out. And I hope readers agree. But also, I'm super curious to hear. I heard from one reader recently who was like, I really didn't think that's how you were going to end it. And I'm shocked and I liked it, but I'm sitting with it. I'm like, I love it. Like, and
Yes.
then I'm like, tell
Yes.
me what you thought was going to happen. And she told me, and I'm like, I appreciate that. I'm glad you were so invested that you cared either way.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Well, and that would be like the most, amazing thing. It feels to me like if people loved Gabriel Meyer's Timeless series, but they really aren't a huge
yeah,
historical, you know, it's just not their genre, but they read it anyway because they liked the premise and they loved the series, but they wish it wasn't historical.
yeah.
It feels like this book is kind of the answer.
It is very much an answer, I hope. That's such a compliment. And I feel like I am a contemporary author, like to the core. And even what I read is contemporary. I mean, I love a good historical fiction, but I only, ratio wise, in my own reading life, I would say maybe 3 historical fiction books to like 30 contemporary. So I love that. And I love writing today. Like I love writing our time now. Although, do you want to hear something hilarious?
Oh yeah, yeah, yes. Do
I
tell.
I have been asked twice now to in one case write an article and in the other appear on a panel about shedding a light on the past because the early 2000s to some is considered history. I almost fell out of my chair. I was like, did I read that right? Shining a light on the past. But I mean, it reads a very contemporary. Don't get me wrong. I just was like, that's hilarious. I'm 40 and I suddenly feel 90, but thank you. I would gladly provide that article. But yeah, all that to say, I think largely anything, I mean, even 90s plus feels contemporary and especially her present life. It's very, it's what we are living right now. So
Right.
I love it.
I think my friend Kathy, she has done a really good job of pointing out that because of the way technology diverged hugely
Hmm.
with the
Such a
internet,
good point.
that historical fiction really should begin with, right around that change.
Yeah.
A couple years either way, but it once computers are more than just something people use in a job,
Mm-hmm.
where now it is a connectivity
Yeah.
thing. Once that became a thing, it she's right, I think we need
Absolutely.
to consider it historical, and that's weird because that's like half my life.
I know. It's wild to think about, but it's wild when you think about, yeah, my childhood. Yeah, you even tell my girls, like our Friday night was going to Blockbuster Video and roaming those aisles until we found only 3 to pick out for like a week. And even that, I'm like, yeah, now you have the clicker and the world at your fingertips with any number of streamers. It's just so different.
Oh
And
yeah.
those are real, yeah, the technology and the million ways it has changed everything. I totally agree.
Okay, so aside from Sutton,
Yeah.
who's your favorite character?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'm gonna go with Quinn, who is her best friend in the book. How to say this also without spoilers, but I don't mind saying
Right?
it. I feel like in her journey at one point, and this is also like a craft thing, I felt like somewhere along the way she needed one person to be in on the gig. Like she couldn't just be
Oh yeah.
totally alone in this journey. So this is a spoiler I'm willing to share. Quinn becomes that person who oh, are you serious? You're a time hopper? Okay, whatever. I don't believe you. Oh, wait, I kind of believe you. So she's not only her best friend, but you see in many ways, I won't spill or share like the way Quinn's life is impacted back in their 20s by this time hopping. And Quinn just, oh, she's such a good best friend. She's an ER doctor and she's fierce and she's loyal. And she was a great foil to Sutton. She challenges her when she needs to be challenged. And it was almost like a breath of fresh air after I wrote that and like, okay, someone else is going to know besides Sutton because she, oh gosh, I mean, she's it's stressful. What's happening? The portal, like help. I miss my
Right?
husband and kids, but also this is fun. I get to sleep in. I don't have any rules. Like, so it was Quinn, I will say, gets the favorite award.
I can see that. I
Yeah.
could totally see that. So, okay. This is going to be kind of weird.
I
I
love
don't
it.
think I've ever asked a question like this, but I feel like this is the book to do it
Yes,
with.
please.
So, if the reader
Mm-hmm.
got done reading this book
Yeah.
and had the misfortune of playing pickleball
Yeah. Yeah.
and ended up with an injury
Yeah.
that sent her to this portal,
Yes.
and she had a choice of whether to do this or not,
Yeah.
what would you tell her?
I would tell her to do it. If she had a choice, I would say embrace the journey because you will end up exactly where you're meant to. And I wrote this book when I was 38, staring at my own birthday. And I hoped by writing this whole book that I would come to similar conclusions about my own life. And I did. But it was a really special exercise for me walking through all of this with a character. I felt like I got to go on the ride. And what I gained from that was so valuable and so precious to me and a little bit scary and a little bit fantastical, a little bit fun. And I'd say go for it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So, like, in going forward,
Yeah.
do you see yourself writing more magical realism?
Such a fantastic question. I love your questions, by the way. These are so unique and fun. I do. I can't share it yet, but I have one that has been cooking and brewing on my mind. It keeps me up at night. So I do have one. That's the only one I have yet. I'm definitely an ideas girl with like many, many in a Word document. And of the umpteen I have, only one. But I wonder if writing yet another one will continue to unlock that. I do feel like writing one sort of gave me the permission. And what I also love about this book, and it's just like special between, me and God, is this was the book where creatively, like I really took a risk in chasing a crazy idea. And it was the one after self-publishing twice. It was the one that got me my dream agent and my dream book deal, which is all God, all glory to him. But it was this book. It wasn't like a safe book or like a normal book or a predictable book. It was just a fun, creative, heartfelt book. So that's a big moment for me. And so I feel like I know I can do it. Sometimes creative risks are so worth it. They're probably always worth it. And so yes would be my short answer. And my long answer is all of that.
That's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now according to Amazon and Tyndale, November gives us more.
Yes, it sure does. So exciting. Like I said, I indie published my first two, and my querying journeys were challenging. The first one was in the beginning to middle of the pandemic. The second went through everyone's querying journey is always wild, but it went through won a contest, supposed to get a book deal, wait JK, signed with the wrong agent. I was so over it, I self-published. So like I self-published, but not for lack of really trying with the traditional route. So Tyndale, in discovering and adoring 20-something else, decided to pick up the indie rights of my first two indie books, When We Blinked and Suing Cinderella, which is a total dream come true, pulled them off the market, and they are being reissued with cohesive branding and just, I mean, it's such a dream. So June is 20-something else. November is When We Blinked. February is Suing Cinderella. And then June 2027 will be another new, never before seen book that I just turned in. So it's exciting. 4 books in a year is no joke, but I am here for the ride.
Ah, I love it. Well, I mean, it does help. I will say it does help that you had the other ones done.
For
So
sure.
yes, it's going to have to go through their edits,
Right.
but it's a different kind of edit
It
than when
is.
you finish your own book and it's the first draft and now you got to do the thing. I
Totally.
mean, that's night and day, you
Night
know.
and day. It really is. And a lot of people have questions about that, and I'm super open, and I actually have the Suing Cinderella copy edit due next week. And it's just, I mean, it's light-handed. It's just their, I mean, anything from kind of their style guide to like
Right.
little questions. I mean, it's, and I love it because I mean, I hate to say that there were things in One Way Blink that I didn't love 5 years later, but there were a few things that I'm like, I wouldn't write that today. Very few, but I got the chance to change them, you know? So
Right.
just updating. You know what else I learned through writing these books is that I love myself a pop culture reference, but you got to be careful with those because they can become dated very quickly. I would say maybe at least 5 copy edits that I can think of in When We Blinked were like pop culture references I either updated or got rid of altogether because I don't know.
Yeah.
Being dated in your writing is a tricky balance.
It is, and it's hard because you want to write what it feels like today,
Sure.
but then you're like, well, but wait a minute. Is this book supposed to feel
I know.
timeless-ish ish, or is it supposed to feel like right
I
now?
know.
You know, and
Mhm.
it's just
I know.
that's a tough one.
And balance there too. Balance, I think, because like 20 something else, even though you read it and you're like, oh, all the millennial, early 2000s feels, we even so like dialed back just a few if it felt like too much, where you're like, this is distracting, or like, I still want it to feel timeless. Like, definitely went through on the books so far. Just, you know, going through once again and making it smooth and feel as timeless as possible.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where I was trying to describe this to my husband, this timeless idea. And he's like, seriously, if you read what you're writing today, back when you were a kid,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's not the kind of timeless. I'm
Yeah.
talking about, I don't want it to be so very specific to 2026
hmm
that in 2028 it feels dated.
Yeah.
But if in 2036 it starts feeling a little,
Yeah.
oh, well, but
Totally.
if I can keep it from feeling crazy dated until 2046, but
Exactly.
the problem is obviously if you look back, 20 years from today,
Mhm.
that's 2006. And
Uh,
my youngest was born 2 years before that.
yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah. You
Oh.
you wanna hear something really interesting that was interesting to me as a writer is that Tyndale and my agent, just one, like, quick thing for this topic was we took away, I would say 98%, if not all, date stamps. So, like, even though you read 20 something else and you're like, "Oh my gosh, early 2000s," we don't date stamp it 2007, 2006, and I wanted to because 'cause I'm like, "No, she's time hopping specifically to 2006." They're like, "You don't need it," and that date stamp, like, even written, like, psychologically feels like more of an anchor to the time period. You'll get the vibe without it. And I doubted it at first, and now I'm so glad. So I thought that was very interesting, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and it's interesting. Well, like even with date stamps in most of my books, unless it is strictly 100% historical,
Yeah.
I never put a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll put
Exactly.
month and day,
hmm
month and day,
hmm
month and place. Sometimes, if it's jumping places,
Yeah.
I'll add the place, but except when I went back and did a prequel
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
to give an idea for a generality for the series. I did do it in a prequel once where I put, okay, this is 2012, and now people are like,
Yeah.
that was back then,
Yeah.
because
That's helpful,
the
right?
people who read it from the beginning would
hmm
know that because that's when they read that first book. But
Exactly.
now that I've done it, 20 years later,
I
not that
love
many years
that. No,
later,
I
it
love
feels like
that.
20, like 15 years later, I was like, so yeah,
Totally.
no, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. So you've got, but next June,
hmm
you have a new book
I
coming.
do.
Okay, so then my question is, are you going to come back and tell us about this book?
Absolutely. I would be honored. And I can say, what can I say about it? I can say it's also in the vein of women's fiction with strong romantic elements. That one has even more strong romantic elements, but I definitely tend to lean with my books into like the woman's journey, which is the definition of women's fiction. And it
Right.
is set, what I can share is it is set on Lido Isle here where I live. Are you familiar with Lido?
I've heard of it.
It's
Yes,
like
I haven't actually been there, but
it's the most darling island down by Balboa Island, but like less
yeah.
famous, and just the cutest little seaside town in the world. And it was a joy to write and dive into just a little bit of like its backstory, only because there's a grandmother character who was raised there. So love it.
Yes, because grandmas, all the grandmas.
Because grandmas. I wrote a grandma in 20 something else, and the grandma chapter is also a fan favorite, especially of women who've read my book who are like 50 plus. They're like, they live for the mom and grandma in the book. Like it's really sweet. I love multi-generational just in general as a reader and a writer. Yes. So we get a grandma in the next book, and it was also so fun to write.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So really quick, for people who are looking for, what's coming in November, obviously you're welcome to come back and tell us all about this one too. But until then, if you do, some people twice in a year is just more of me than they can handle. But
you're wonderful. Never.
So, but just a little teaser. What is this one?
Yes,
because this one isn't magical realism, right?
It is not magical realism, but it's definitely, I'm learning as I go that I have kind of a vibe, which is pick a super high concept and be like, can I pull this off? And it's usually an idea that I get in my head and I can't forget about it until I start writing it. So this one is called When We Blinked, and it is the first book I wrote. And I would say 20 something else is very like sort of a lot of my thoughts and ideas, a little bit extension of self at age 38. And When We Blinked is that same idea, just a lot of my heart at age 33. And it's like redemption story, like a second chance marriage story. And a couple who has been divorced is in their early 30s, and they share a child, and they're, trying to move on, and they get matched on this new hot dating app that does not allow any pictures. So they get matched, and the wife does not have any idea it's her ex, and he knows it's her. So he attempts to win her back with his words.
Oh, I love
and that was another one to like kind of pull off. I gave myself a challenge. Like, how do we do this while you're rooting for him and not making it seem creepy catfish, So it was so fun to write. Very like, You've Got Mail energy with the whole, talking without seeing each other, and really a special book to my heart. So it's fun.
Love it.
It's fun because it's a book that I've just loved from the gate, and it's, made its slow, humble entry into readers' hearts, but it's been off the market now for a while. So I miss it. I miss it being out there and hearing from readers. That's my favorite part of this whole job. So I can't wait for it to get new life and have another pop in November.
Oh goodness, I'm so excited. Okay. See, this is like that's like right up my alley.
Oh my gosh. I will send you a copy. It will be coming to you. And the cover they did, oh my gosh.
It's so beautiful. I love this cover.
Oh, it's so sweet, and it just feels like them, and I'm so thrilled with it. I will say I love my illustrator, and they locked her in for my 4 books coming out in the year. So that was just a gift that they'll all be similar and have the same font and energy.
All the fun stuff. Yeah. Oh goodness. Okay. So readers wanting to know more about you, your books, all the things, where should they go?
They should definitely go to Instagram. That's where I am most active of all the platforms. And I am at Stephanie, and is in November Mack, and have a Facebook. I'm not very active on it, if I'm honest. I would say that Instagram and my website also provides a lot of information. That's just stephaniemack.com. And I have a newsletter you can subscribe to. I have a lot of fun with that. Just a lot of my latest favorites and sort of like a little mini magazine. Try to do that as much as I can. And I'd say those are the best places. I also have a podcast where I get to interview other authors. I should have you come on sometime, like interviewing you. That would be really fun. We should do that next year.
That would be fun.
I would love that. So podcast called Underline That. I have a blast interviewing authors and just dissecting the bookish world and stories. I live for it.
Excellent. Yes. Let's do this, because when we're talking about books, it's like my jam, right?
It's the best.
That's why I did this.
So fun.
Can you believe this has been, I'm in year 7. I can't believe I've been doing this for 7 years.
I love it. I hope I get there. I will. I'm 2 years in, 2.5, and it's flown by with the podcast.
Right?
Yeah, it flies by. And then you're like, I get there. You just have more and more ideas and people you want to talk to. It just keeps going.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love it. I love it. Oh boy. Well, Stephanie, this has been fun. I so appreciate you. I really enjoyed having, not just time to talk about the book, because the book I'm like all excited about and I'm drumming my fingers for, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, have you pre-ordered yet? All the things, right? But
Mhm.
it's just fun to talk writing.
Aw.
And you did a great job of, and most authors do, but once in a while, they're just not comfortable talking about the writing process. But you did a great job about talking about the writing in a
Thank
way
you.
that a reader really gets involved and goes, yeah, yeah, okay, I
Oh.
can see this. It's not always as obvious. So thank you for that,
Oh,
because
you're
I know
so
readers love
welcome.
to know that.
Of course, it's one of my passions. Sometimes I can ramble a little bit, but I love to talk about it. So thank you for letting me and for asking such phenomenal questions. They were truly inspiring and amazing.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Well, guys, I'm going to say have a good day. Go read this good book. By the time this comes out, it will be available, ready for you to, jump on and go for it. And yeah, I will chat with you guys next time.
Thank you so much.